Today we're back with another steak experiment in search of the perfect steak crust, and we're using a secret ingredient. Can you tell which one has it? Follow me and let's turn up the tasty. If you've been following along our channel, you know we've been searching for the perfect way to make the ultimate steak crust using a number of different methods. No, the beer is for me, not for the steak. What we're trying today is applying baking powder to the steak to see if that improves the crust. Why baking powder? Well, it's simple. We use this when we bake our chicken wings. This is a leavening agent that's typically been used in baking, hence the name baking powder. And we use this in our chicken wings because it actually changes the pH balance of the skin as it cooks, promoting a really crisp, crunchy exterior. Will the same thing happen with the steak? Will I ruin it? Will I overcook it? Who knows? Let's find out. There's only one way to do that. Now, I typically salt my steaks for about an hour ahead of time, but because I'm adding this, I just thought, I didn't know how that would interact with the steak, so I just thought we're gonna do it both at the same time. So here we go. Salt on both. As you can see, these are just great looking ribeye steaks. I picked the ribeye because they tend to have more fat, especially than a filet or a strip. And I thought, since the chicken wing has a lot of fat to it as well, that there might be some similarities there. All right, so I dropped this earlier, so we already got some right on top. What's the right amount? I don't know. Is any amount the right amount? Really don't know the answer to that either, but we're gonna go ahead and apply this, I'd say thoroughly, right? Maybe. Let's get it on there. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get it on there. That's the official measurement. I don't know if this is gonna work. I don't think this is gonna work, but we're gonna try. All right, we're gonna salt this side as well. And this over here is our control steak. This is the steak we're just gonna cook as we normally would in a cast iron skillet, salt only. All right, now that that's done, I'm gonna fire up the skillets and I'll be right back. When it comes to these meat experiments, I like to consider myself a Tesla of T-bones, a Da Vinci of meats. And like any good scientist, you wanna try to control the variables, and that's what we try to do here. We have 2 heating units, exact same unit, 2 cast iron skillets, exact same size, same brand, save everything.
What?
The other thing we're gonna do is I have these heating units set to the exact same temperature. We have an infrared thermometer right here to check the surface temperature of the skillet before we drop the steak in. I do have some concerns about that baking powder that it may burn. We'll find out. But don't worry, we're willing to spend $20 a pound for quality beef, potentially screw it up to save you from making the same mistake or potentially creating great outcomes. Over here we are reading, coming up on about 400. Over here we are, not surprisingly, about the same temperature. So we're gonna go ahead and hit these here with just a little bit of avocado oil. That's what I use. It has a very high smoke point. I've covered this in other videos, but the higher the smoke point, the less chance this has of burning. So we got a little bit of smoke coming here. Go ahead and drop down the avocado oil. Let's go ahead and get it around. Nicely coat the pan. Drop right here, salt only. Let it get nice contact. Over here, same thing. Now, I have been known to overcook a steak on this channel. I try not to let it happen too often, but I'm going to try to pull these at an internal temperature of about 120 degrees, 125, somewhere in that range. Let's go ahead and flip these now. And flip this one. Here we go. Okay, well, that's an interesting look on the baking powder. It almost looks like it has like it was coated in flour. It's kind of what that looks like to me. Sear that fat cap. All right, now that the steaks are done cooking, let's just get a little scrape test to see which one has the crispiest sounding exterior. Okay, this is our control. This is our salt-only avocado oil. Well, I mean, I think from a sound perspective, it's pretty obvious. Our control sounds crispier from just that knife test. Hear that. Now, also looking at it, I mean, color-wise, they actually look very similar, about the same. The one with the baking powder looks, kind of has more of a fried look to it. It looks like it was like almost covered in a flour or something. I'm seeing a little bit of the baking powder and where that began to crisp up a little bit. Of course, you don't see any of that on our control steak. Internal temperature was about the same when I pulled it off, about 120 degrees. So we should be right at a rare to a medium rare temperature. But now it's really time for the ultimate test. What does it taste like? Let's find out. Now that they're cut, I will say as I cut through them, the texture felt very much the same. If I had to make any comment, it's like that the one with the baking powder actually sounded like it was a little juicier. As you can see, got some nice color in there, a nice medium rare temperature to it. Over here on our control, about the same. So they both look like they're cooked really, really well. Now it's time for the taste test. We'll go right to the top, right on the spinalis. Up here. First for our control. I mean, it's a great tasting steak. It's what I've come to expect when it comes to steak. It's a perfect steak. I love that. It tastes great. It's rich. Everyone is gonna be happy when you serve them this steak, 100%. Cleanse the palate. To the naked eye, it looks about the same now that it's cut up. Really no difference in looks. That's really interesting. That it's a juicier steak. It's the same steak, I mean, flavor-wise. This one actually tastes a little juicier. That is really interesting. Let's try another bite. Let's try that right there. There it is again. Sorry guys, I need to try a few more bites of this. I really want to report back on this. Okay, here's my feedback on this one. It is a juicier steak. It really is. There's more juice per bite than I got over here. First of all, a couple things. I thought that this would burn. I thought that this would burn over the high heat. So the fact that it didn't burn and came out pretty close in color to this one, our control, is really surprising to me. I actually thought that this would have a better crust. I thought similar to like cooking with flour, it would really crisp up, and that didn't happen. It was a little softer, as we heard with the sound test. Actually, our control had the better crust to it from a pure sound perspective. On a taste perspective, I can tell you the crust itself, even though this one didn't have the sound, there's really not much difference to the overall flavor. And I think that's where I need to stop and talk too, because I thought that that baking powder would actually give it an adverse flavor. I know some people are really sensitive to that. You know, we've heard from others in our chicken wing video, you know, we'll get the occasional comments that they can taste it. I could never taste it in the chicken wings, and I cannot taste it right here. It's an excellent bite of steak, and if I had to say one other thing, even though I didn't measure the salt to make sure it was applied in the exact same amount across both steaks, I felt like it was close, but this one actually tastes less salty than this one. This one isn't oversalted. This one is about what I'm used to. This one actually tastes like it's undersalted, but to my eye, I applied about the same amount. Let's come in for another bite over here. I'm curious. Listen guys, it's a challenge to, I mean, how do I quantify the juiciness of a steak? How do I do that? I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you know how I can gauge the juiciness of a steak. What I can tell you is I have a really difficult job some days, a terrible job. I have to eat two delicious, amazing tasting steaks, and it's close. I think that from flavor, they're both really good. I mean, you wouldn't even know that this had baking powder on it if I didn't tell you. Would I cook it this way again? I mean, I really don't see why not. I don't see why I wouldn't try this. Maybe I gotta try this on the grill. Again, these are almost identical steaks except for the sound test on the exterior. Love to hear from you guys in the comments below. Try this at home. Let us know how it turns out for you. In the meantime, I got some work to do here, and I'll see you guys next time.